So by now you've probably heard of the ChatterBait, or at least vibrating jigs. They're kind of a hybrid between a spinnerbait and a jig, and one thing about them is that they're super noisy. I mean, they call it a ChatterBait for a reason. One thing you might not know is that Z-Man has 8 different ChatterBaits in their lineup. So we're going to take a look at each one and look at the differences between them, because some of them are better apt to fish in weeds, some of them are better apt to fish on bottom, and then some of them come with all sorts of other subtle designs that make them more specific in certain scenarios. But one thing we really want to take a look at or listen for is what they all sound like, because they've all got different blades, they've all got different heads, they all swim slightly differently. So we'll take a look at each one of these ones, see what they look like, how they're fished, but then we'll also listen to what they sound like. Like I said, all these ChatterBaits have their specific applications, but there are little nuanced things to them. For instance, what the head is actually made of. The majority of them are made with lead, but there are also some that are tungsten, which obviously sinks faster, smaller and denser. And then some are also brass, which has a unique kind of look and feel underwater as well. So we'll let you know which ones of those are made up of brass, which ones are made of tungsten, and which ones are made of lead. So we're gonna start with the original. And the original is just a no frills workhorse bait, just a silicone skirt. You know, we got a nickel blade on there. So we're gonna tie that up. And one thing we're gonna do today is fish them without a trailer. That way you can just kind of see the bait right out of the package, how it performs without any influence. So like I say, we'll tie on the original here and then pay attention to the way it moves, its components, but also give it a good hard listen. All right, so we've got a good standard established by looking at the original first. Like I said, no frills, workhorse ChatterBait. And this is the ChatterBait original, but it's the Elite series. And main difference was that with this is the hand-tied skirt. And what you get with a hand-tied skirt is more unique colors, kind of more custom colors. And then there's a wire tie instead of a straight silicone skirt. So the thing about wire on skirts is that they're just way more durable. They last a lot longer. So what you're getting for the money here is essentially custom colors and a little bit more durable of a bait. Still a workhorse, still super loud. And we'll see what that sounds like. All right, so this is in the original series as well. This is the ChatterBait Micro. And there's a couple instances where you might want to throw the Micro over the standard sizes. And that is when you're dealing with smallmouth, you know, or spots a lot of times. And then when also they're keying on a little bit smaller fish, even smaller crayfish at times. Just when you want to dial down the finesse a little bit, there is a Micro option. Nice thing about that too is that you have a fine wire hook, so that oftentimes will give you better penetration on softer, smaller mouths. So like I said, this chatterbait's a little more apt for smaller fish, and you might even, actually you can definitely catch crappies on this as well. So let's take a look at it, see what it looks like, see what it sounds like. After looking at that little guy, I have got some seriously good ideas for next spring, or when I want to do some crappie fishing, because that thing is just tantalizing. And then, like I said, smallmouth too. And that's the first time I've thrown that, and I can definitely see where there's going to be some applications. Here's one that you might have heard about. This is the jackhammer. This is the Evergreen jackhammer version of the Z-Man ChatterBait. Some of the main differences with this ChatterBait is you've got this Gamakatsu hook. This thing is wicked. You got a little different keeper on here. This is a really good like thin wire keeper. Lastec baits fit on there really good from Z-Man. You've got upgraded colors on the blade, and there's a little bit different line tie. This is a snap as opposed to the original way that they've got rigged on the other ones. And then another big difference is the tungsten head. Lead has a tendency to be pliable and be mushed when it's run into hard structures. Say you're fishing near a dam, a concrete structure. Tungsten doesn't get scuffed up nearly as much, deflects, and makes a lot of noise. And so you got a premium skirt, upgraded hook, 5/0 hook on this 3/8 ounce one, extra sharp, super durable. Different bait keeper on here, works really good with Elastec baits that are very soft, stretchy, and durable. And then you've got a tungsten head, and then a little bit different patterns on the blade and a different line tie. So like I said, lots of thought processes have gone through to make this bait what it is. This is the Evergreen jackhammer Z-Man ChatterBait. So let's take a look at it, see what it sounds like. So one thing to note, one thing that the Evergreen jackhammer is really known for is its erratic hunting action. I mean, that's why people seek out the Evergreen jackhammer chatterbait, because like I said, it's almost got like this crazy crankbait action to it where it really hunts, you know, that really erratic action. Obviously, a lot of times that can trigger strikes. For demonstration purposes today, we're just running it at a steady cadence in order to keep it comparative to all the other ones that we've looked at. We're reeling them at the same speed, and we're giving them the same action so we can really pay attention to the sound. But like I said, one thing to note is with that jackhammer, that hunting action is really the reason it's so sought after. But the next bait we're going to take a look at is a chatterbait, but it's got a football head on it. And so what that says to me is that this is going to be fished closer to the bottom. This is a chatterbait that you're going to want to use around rock or wood, you know, and really deflect, because everybody knows a football head has a really good way of maneuvering through cover, through snags. So if you take a look at it right here, it's got this jointed football head. This is from Freedom Tackle. This is a collaboration. It's got this swing head style football head on the front of it. And that's going to give it some cool kind of crankbait-esque action as well when it's down there deflecting. So let's take a look at that too. So like I said with that one, good choice for when you're going to be fishing around cover, deflecting off rocks and wood. And then of course it's got that unique swing head design. So picture that with a trailer, you know, and put your favorite trailer on there and you can really see the kind of action that it's going to impart. So take a look at that one. We're going to take a look at a similar one here. This is another collab with Freedom. But the unique thing about this bait, there's an EWG hook on here. There's a wide gap hook, so you can take baits, rig them completely weedless, Texas rig them, and then you can run them through a lot of cover that way too. Still got the swinging head. It doesn't have the football head on it, so it's not going to be as good at deflecting, but like I said, you can put whatever trailer you want on this EWG and run it through vegetation, so that's going to make it a good choice for that. Another cool thing about the Freedom head is the brass blade. Now you can get different blades for all your chatterbaits. This one's got a brass blade. And then the head itself of the Freedom Tackle head here, this swinging head, is brass as well, which is kind of a rarity in fishing sometimes too. You know, things are dominated by tungsten and lead, but this is brass. So, you know, if you're behind a guy who's fishing lead, who's fishing tungsten, and you throw something just a little bit different in that brass, brass is a little bit softer, makes a little bit different noise, and deflects a little bit differently. So see if you can pick that up when we wash it here underwater. So the last two we looked at were in collab with Freedom Tackle. They got the swinging heads on them, a little softer metal that makes a little different noise and has a different flash. Also has an EWG hook on there, so you can put whatever plastic you want on, fish it in the weeds. The next one we're going to take a look at here are the Project Z series Z-Man ChatterBaits. There's a couple differences amongst all 8 of these ChatterBaits. You know, you've got the original ChatterBaits here, and then you've got a Gamakatsu hook on this Evergreen jackhammer. You got VMC hooks on the Freedom Tackle ones, and these are mustad hooks. This is a heavy gauge mustad hook. So if you've got a preference on hooks, there's a ChatterBait out there for you. So let's take a look at the Project Z series. Again, we're concerned with what they sound like, so we'll pay attention to that. Alright, so this is one of 2 of the Project Z series. Got a good look at that one. And then the last one we're going to look at is the one we just looked at, only with a brush guard, where you're going to fish in and around cover. Lots of these are really good at deflecting as well, but here's just that added security with a brush guard on it. And again, you know, that's that jig spinnerbait hybrid. You can take a pretty good look at that custom head on there. You can see it kind of flows through into the skirt. You know, kind of a silver gray top, bleeds in, a white and a yellow chartreuse into a pearl. All those kind of translate into the head there. So that's an ultra realistic design, super attractive head style on there. And we'll take a look at it underwater. Alright, so there it is, a look at all 8 of the ChatterBaits in the Z-Man lineup. After looking at them, I hope that you understand where each one has a place, where you'd use one over the other, and what they sound like in variation, because I'm sure you didn't even know that there was 8 ChatterBaits in the Z-Man lineup. So hopefully you learned something today. Pick one of these up, whatever situation fits the lake that you like to fish. Pick them all up if you like to fish a lot of different places across the country, because the ChatterBait is one of the most versatile baits out there.